If you're a long-time viewer of our channel, you'll know that we've already built and modified a 2019 model Toyota Supra, and I absolutely love that car. In fact, I wish I never got rid of it. However, progress means you need to sometimes move on to a new car, a new project. Now, when Uni-clutch reached out to me and said, would you like to try out the new manual Supra, I got super excited and suggested that not only do we try out the car, let us use it as a short-term project car, and that's exactly what they did. So before we get started on the mods, let's check out the differences with the 23 model Supra to our 2019 model and see exactly how the new manual Supra drives. Let's go. The 2023 Supra GTS essentially looks the same as the 2019 model, the main visual difference being the new design of 19-inch wheels. Inside, more of the same. Nothing that you notice at first glance, but the spec sheet reveals Apple CarPlay is now included. The big change in this car though is the lack of paddles on the wheel and the 6-speed gear lever in the center console. There has been tweaks to the suspension and steering, but it's the same chassis underneath with no major mechanical changes there. The big difference with this model of Supra is under the hood, but most won't notice it. The first model of Supra had an integrated exhaust manifold in the head, which is called the 2-port head. This version of the B58 engine has a traditional 6-port head design. This, combined with revised tuning, gives the 6-port an extra 35 kilowatts. 285 versus 250 in the 2-port engine model Supra. We decided to test that out for ourselves on the dyno at Croydon Racing Developments. Our 2019 Supra dynoed stock at between 232 and 236 kilowatts at the hubs. We know it's a different day and not back-to-back, but it's the same mainline hub dyno in a sealed dyno cell, so it's as good as a test as we're going to get. The 2023 model made just under 270 kilowatts, which is pretty much bang on the claimed extra 35 kilowatts. The different transmissions means the graphs aren't perfectly comparable due to ratios, but it does give a good idea of the increased power everywhere, which should be easily felt on the road. So let's go and find out. Manual versus auto is pretty much the big topic of this video, right? Because the 2023, honestly, my first impression is, it doesn't really feel all that different to the 19. It feels, well, just as good, right? Is it any better? Yeah, I'm sure there's little things that make it better, but the main thing is the 6-port engine, an extra 35 kilowatts. And that's really sort of like the main things that you can tell the difference with, because when you give it a hit, you can tell the difference. It's got the extra grunt from factory, but mine was modified. So to me, the main argument of auto versus manual is how you use the car. If you want to daily drive it to work, drive it in traffic, there's a lot of benefits for the auto, but if it's your only car that you own and it's your weekend toy, having a manual, obviously, well, it's a lot more appealing. So let's go use the car for what you would if it was your weekend car, shall we? Let's go. This car is so good through here. Without even having to try, the chassis is just unbelievably fun and good. That piece of road in this car is just epic. The best way for me to sum up the Supra is quite simple. Essentially, I feel like what Toyota did is when they did the suspension and chassis development on this car, they made it feel more like a Japanese sports car rather than a European sports car. After now having driven the latest M2 and the latest M3 and M4, I can say that the Supra, I mean, it is obviously literally lighter than them, but it feels way lighter, feels more nimble, and just,
I don't know, it just has a different feel to it that someone that's been driving Japanese cars for 2 decades can pick up on. It just doesn't feel the same as its European counterparts, but for me, in a good way. As someone that's a JDM fan, this car feels more familiar than those European cars do, but just the chassis balance and the feel through the steering wheel in this car is not the same as the M cars from BMW. It has its own feel, its own flavour, and I love it. I'm going to put it out there, I actually prefer to drive this than the brand new M2 or the brand new M3 and M4. So, auto versus manual, which one would you buy? Well, it's all about your circumstances and how you use the car, right? So for me personally, I was using my Supra to drive to and from work. I'd drop my daughter off, Evie, to school sometimes. I'd take Susie out to dinner. It would get driven to events as well. It kind of got used for a lot of things. And to me, I think the auto was best. And I'll tell you why. It had a split personality. If you drove it in normal mode, it was automatic, so you could just chill, cruise, in traffic, go out to dinner, drive through the city, whatever. You were driving a luxury European sports car. But when you put it into sport mode, go into manual mode, man, the thing was just, it went from, it was Jekyll and Hyde. It could do power skids, drift it, drag race it, everything. It was just a weapon at everything. The manual wouldn't be as quick to drag race, wouldn't be as quick to launch, wouldn't be as easy to drive in some circumstances, wouldn't do as good at burnouts either, because obviously with the auto, you just pluck gears, right? So the auto, with that Jekyll and Hyde personality, for me, was the right car. But if you only owned one nice car and you didn't have any sequential manual equipped race cars at the shop like I do, your desire to drive a manual is obviously higher. And if you only drove it on weekends as your weekend car, then you would definitely get the manual. So there you are, there you have it. That's my prognosis. If you want to daily drive it, and you've got other race cars, and it's meant to be your luxury car and your toy, get the automatic. But if you're getting a Supra as your weekend toy and you're not daily driving it, then you get the manual, because the involvement that the manual gives you on twisty roads like this, you don't care how fast it is, you don't care about your lap time, and you don't care about your quarter mile time, right? You care about driver involvement, driver feedback, and fun factor, and that's where the manual really shines. I don't really care what this does 0 to 100 compared to the auto. If you care about that, get the auto. But if you care about driver feel, driver involvement, fun, and feedback through corners like this, you get the manual, right? The end. So overall, auto versus manual, you know which one to get based on your circumstance, but it is a brilliant car. Can it be better with modifications? Of course it can. This is Motive Video. We have to do some mods to this thing. What are we gonna do? Well, you're just gonna have to subscribe and find out, aren't you?